Let's speak now to Abbas Gallyamov, former speechwriter for Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has since spoken out against him. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I just want to get an assessment really on some of that language that Putin was using in his speech yesterday. One Russian newspaper suggested that Putin has nowhere to retreat, so he's going to continue to attack. Do you think we heard that in the language that he was using?
Well, yes, he's not going to stop in terms of his language, because this is the only thing which is left for him. You should understand that he cannot win Ukraine in the military sense of the word. So the only thing which is left for him is just talking. So his talking will be getting stronger and stronger and more aggressive, because this is compensation for actual weakness, the weakness of his troops.
And is he aware of that, Abbas? Does he know that talking is all he's got left? And if so, what does that actually mean in reality for Ukraine and for the rest of us, frankly, as well?
Well, of course, he understands that if your troops are retreating, if they cannot comply with your command to conquer Kiev or to conquer at least the territories of those regions he wants to join Russia, well, definitely it's clear that you have problems. And definitely it leads to escalation in terms of rhetoric and possibility of him using nuclear weapons. Actually, this is the only thing which is left for him aside from rhetoric. And he's going to hint at this, then he's going to speak openly about this. And then the moment might come when he decides that this is the only chance left, and he might employ it. I can't rule this out. Wow. The other question is if the Russian army is going to obey him, and there is a whole chain of command, and they are not so fanatic like him. And you should also understand, he is becoming quite illegitimate now. And so when such kind of command is given by an illegitimate leader, a leader who is losing, actually, everybody understands that he is losing. Well, in this case, the army might not fulfill his command, and this actually means a coup. So nothing is impossible now. The situation is really dramatic.
Is this an escalation? Because there has been obviously responses from around the world. President Biden saying the US would never, never, never recognize Russia's annexations. Shortly after the speech, President Zelensky of Ukraine announced that Kyiv was applying for accelerated accession to NATO. So even if words are all that Putin has right now, those words do have consequences around the world. Would you agree with that?
Well, I would say that there is a lot of escalation going on, but also somebody is trying to put down emotions. For example, yesterday, General Secretary of NATO, when he was speaking, he didn't tell that he was planning to that NATO was planning to admit Ukraine immediately. He kind of lowered passions here. He told that, well, we will discuss that, but so far we're concentrated on military support. So they were speaking a lot about military support, actual military support for Ukraine, but they didn't. They kind of tried to leave some space, some opening for Putin. And Putin, from time to time, he's also trying to play down the emotions. Yesterday in his speech, there was a lot of rhetoric of hate speech, so to say, towards West. This anti-colonial discourse, a lot of it. But actually, if you put aside the words and leave something which really matters, something which really means something, there was just one simple idea: we are ready to come to the negotiations table immediately. Yes, we are not ready to discuss the future of those regions, but actually we want to sit at the negotiations table. And he didn't tell that we were planning to conquer the whole areas. Now he controls just part of them. And previously they were speaking, no, we want to take the whole areas of these four regions. And yesterday he didn't mention this.
Yeah.
And like a week ago, when he was meeting the Asian leaders in Uzbekistan, he twice he mentioned, when he was speaking to the Prime Minister of India and the President of Turkey, he mentioned that he was ready to negotiate immediately, to stop, to cease fire and come to the negotiations table. And he was expressing regret that Ukrainians didn't want to negotiate with him. So it's a kind of, we are pressing, but at the same time we are showing that we are ready to negotiate.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I want to return something you said a moment ago, which was about his legitimacy and his losing legitimacy. And you actually mentioned the word coup as well. You used to write speeches for Putin. You know him. You have been with him. I just wonder if he's losing legitimacy, if there is a feeling of his failure developing, evolving, and growing. How possible is it for those closest to him in his regime to openly converse with one another about action that they may take?
Well, after a certain moment, when they feel, when they have this, complete feeling that he lost, this is what is going to happen for sure. Just so far, there were a lot of signs that he was losing, but still, people, they're accustomed to, for 22 years, they were watching him winning all the time. So they got accustomed to the feeling that even if it seems that he is losing, then that something will happen and he will still lose. So now, for example, they are hoping that okay, we cannot win Ukraine in the military sense of the word, but now we cut off gas and oil supplies to Europe, and Europe will freeze in winter, and they will drop to their knees and crawl to us. And after this, they'll stop supplying arms to Ukraine, stop supporting Ukraine, and Ukrainians will get weaker and weaker. And after this, Ukrainians will have to to agree to our conditions. So there is a hope, which is still making the Russian elites loyal. I think a huge fall in loyalty and open discontent will happen probably by the end of the winter and beginning of spring, say in March, when understanding comes that this plan failed. Because so far, this is the major hope. Nobody hopes that this mass mobilization, which he started last week, will change something in the military sense of the word. Maybe it will happen before winter comes, because, if the Russian army doesn't manage to stabilize the front, well, in this case, the process of delegitimization of Putin will speed up. If something like what happened last month near Kharkov, where the Russian army was defeated and ran away, so if something like this happens now again, and there is a big possibility that it will happen, well, then the process of delegitimization speeds up, and maybe the Russian elites will press him into choosing a successor, and maybe the process will start, and maybe Putin will go.